Hello, everybody, and welcome to NJ Thrive Small Business Webinars. Today is Tuesday, April 23rd. You are attending one of our weekly webinars created to help New Jersey small business owners start, grow, and thrive. My name is Uzma Sheikh. I'm a consultant here at NJSBDC, and that stands for New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network. We are a statewide program powered by the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration, and partners to help small businesses in New Jersey with three main things. And those things are no cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, and exclusive small business resources. If you're new here, thank you so much for attending your first webinar. We appreciate your support, and we hope that you continue with us on our journey of the webinars and the services that we provide. And if you have been attending our webinars, you know our name, you've been a client of ours. We appreciate your support and continue to attend and continue to support us. Now, if you can see me and hear me okay, please put a 1 if that ever stops happening. If you cannot see or hear me okay, then the first thing that you need to do is let us know that it's not working, and we'll do our best to help you out. On the other side, all right, so I'm getting a 1 from Heather Maria. Thank you so much. And also let us know that when you're responding, please make sure that you're responding to everyone, not hosts and panelists, unless you just want me to know. And let us know if you have a business idea, or you have a business that you're starting, a new business that you're starting. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur, how you heard about us, or what made you join this webinar or anything like that. So feel free to let us know, and feel free to network in the chat. On the map, on the slide here, you'll see a map. That's the state of New Jersey with all the counties. There are a couple of SBDC logos that you see on the map. And that is, of course, where our 10 regional centers in the state are located. So we do have 10 regional centers that are hosted by educational institutions. So like Brookdale Community College, or FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson, New Jersey City University. So if you ever want to go attend an event in person, or if you have an appointment with a consultant in person and it is at one of those locations, then go to njsbdc.com and you would find out the exact location and attend. All right. So today's webinar is, of course, part of the webinar series that we started in November, how to register your business with our support at no cost for all the New Jersey's aspiring entrepreneurs. And on the agenda, we have a couple of headlines that I'd like to share with you. Then we have the presentation from our speaker, and then a Q&A session afterwards. These are the small business headlines of the week. These are some things that are happening throughout the state of New Jersey or nationwide in the SBA that you as a small business owner or an aspiring entrepreneur should know of. I will share all these links as soon as I am done sharing my screen. So let's go through them. This first article, I guess, published on April 15th is from NJBIA, New Jersey Business and Industry Association. You as a small business owner or aspiring entrepreneur should definitely keep NJBIA on your resources list. They're a great organization for you to check with every week. So they were very gracious and kind enough to pick up one of our announcements as their article. Businesses warned of email scams using NJSBDC logo. So this is something, a recent announcement that we made because we noticed that there were, we wanted to let small businesses in the community know that there are scams happening involving emails that are using SBA logos and our logo, NJSBDC logos, to target small business owners. So official emails from these agencies only, so if we send out emails or SBA sends out emails, that really comes from at njsbdc.com, at americassbdc.org, or at sba.gov. So for example, and I'm going to make this up, if an email was coming from a consultant at from one of our organization, and this is not real, I'm just saying John Smith at njsbc.com. So it would be something like that. They are only legitimate if they originate from our state office or one of our 10 regional centers. And those regional centers will use their institution's email, so at njsu.edu or at brookdale.edu. So please be careful when responding to these emails because they may be phishing attempts designed to steal information such as bank account information, routing numbers, etc. All right, so if you receive a suspicious email, always authenticate the email address. If you have concerns, please report it immediately to info@njsbdc.com. Okay, so press release from the SBA. SBA is another great resource for small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs to keep in check with. So this is a press release. SBA announces National Small Business Week virtual summit schedule. Attendees can participate in educational workshops, network, and learn about federal resources published last week. So SBA and SCORE, mentors to America's small businesses and resource partner of the SBA, announced the schedule of the 2024 National Small Business Week Virtual Summit, of course, and this will take place from April 30th to May 1st. We've shared this before as well. Attendance is free of charge, but registration is required. And when I share this link, just go to this page and register here. So again, it is free of charge, but registration is required. And if you'd like to see the schedule, you have to go to their page and check it out. All right, NJEDA and New Jersey Economic Development Authority, another great resource that everyone should keep in mind of course, aside from NJSBDC, because if you go to like financing and incentives, strategic industry support, real estate, careers, all this, they're always releasing information weekly to help small businesses in the state. All right, this particular headline, NJEDA establishes New Jersey Green Bank to advance climate goals. Approved the creation of NJGB, which will make investments in the clean energy sector that will help advance the state's effort to make a transition to 100% clean energy. Will make investments through debt, credit enhancements, and other financial vehicles to attract private capital to enable the state to reach its climate goals. All right, so any other information that is extremely important, let me just quickly go through this. All right, will include permanent grant capital as it receives, okay, sub-award information. There was an RFEI that was issued last year to gather information, and after this was released. All right, perfect. So if you'd like to read more, this is a 3-minute read. I will put the link in chat. Okay. Now this slide over here, last week, actually, we had a webinar on resources available for veteran-owned small businesses. And we'd like to share this one more time because it is starting on May 7th, and which is really in the next 2 weeks. So just putting it out here for everyone's awareness. If you are a veteran-owned and you missed last week's webinar, please go check it out. We have the recording available. Or if you know someone, then please forward this to them. Very kind of you to do so. No cost online veteran entrepreneurship program, Spring 24. One of our regional centers, FDU, as I mentioned, Fairleigh Dickinson University. They are the one sponsoring this program. So of course it's opening on May 6th, starting May 7th. There are 3 different modules, or 4, and intro to entrepreneurship, idea generation, feasibility, launching your business. So check out our last week's webinar and check out this workshop happening. And of course, if you need more information, you can just always register here at that or go to sbdcinfo@fdu.edu. All right, some housekeeping rules that we like our attendees to respectfully follow. If you have any questions, put them in the Q&A box. If you have any just comments, questions for me or anything like that, put them in the chat. The questions that you put in the Q&A box, they will be specifically addressed by our speaker. That's why we don't want them to get lost in the chat box. If you would like to receive the slides from our speaker, complete a survey and you'll receive them. And this webinar is, of course, being recorded. You will receive, you won't receive them in the chat, I mean, in the email, but the link will be shared in the chat and you can go to our homepage. All right, session 23 with one of our startup consultants, Vanessa Schwartz. And Vanessa, you've been doing this for a long time. And today's session 23, NJ Startup Registration Simplified by with NJSBDC. I will stop sharing. The stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all that information and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. Happy to be here. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, so let's go to the beginning. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is business formation, business structures, and basically also how NJSBDC can support you through your startup journey and then beyond. And that is of little to no cost to you, the business owner, which is a wonderful service. And something that should be taken advantage of. So let's get started. Couple of things that we're going to discuss today are business structures. You have choices when you form your business. The actual formation and registration process, in particular for the LLC. It is a two-step process in New Jersey where we form our legal business entity and then we go ahead and register with the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services. So we'll go over that a little bit. We'll discuss some state regulations that exist in New Jersey in order to do business in New Jersey, touch upon taxes. Business startups, oftentimes, or even if you're in business and you're operating, funding is always a question, an issue, a discussion, and management of your resources. We will talk a little bit about that, but know that we are here as counselors to discuss all of these topics. Any additional needs that we think as business owners you may need to tap into, we can talk a little bit about that. And then next steps, opportunity and growth. Not only are we here for you as a startup, but also through your journey as you look to take advantage of opportunities that come your way within the state, and also as you grow, and preferably as you grow profitably, because that's the key, profitably. Okay. All right. So in terms of business structures, the first one I want to discuss is the sole proprietorship. You hear terms get passed around, and sometimes there's some confusion of what means what. And that's why I want to go over that a little bit today. A sole proprietorship is basically you, the person, deciding to transact business on your behalf. Perhaps it's a hobby, perhaps it's a small business you might want to be engaged in. You're selling goods or services, you're recording your sales, you'll report those income to the IRS and to the state, but it's not necessarily a business entity. It is you yourself, and what you do is sometimes you'd like to still represent yourself by using a trade name. And so you can apply for a trade name. You can call your business something other than your name, and you apply for that trade name at the county clerk's office. So this is run by your county. Every county has a county clerk where you can go and apply for a trade name in which to conduct your business. It costs about $50 or $60. It's relatively inexpensive. You can do it online. You can pull the application online, write the check, take care of the fees, or you could drop it off in person. The tax ID that you would use for sole proprietorship is typically your social security number. But if you'd like, you can also apply for a tax ID from the IRS. That is not necessary, especially if it's just yourself. But more times than not, it doesn't cost anything to get, well, more times than not, people have been moving away from using their social security number with the sole proprietorship because, with all the issues with fraud and identity theft, it costs nothing to get a tax ID from the IRS. And so even though you don't have to, you can get a tax ID from the IRS. It's called an EIN, but you don't have to. The personal bank account is perfectly acceptable to use for your sole proprietorship. You don't have to open a separate business bank account. The income that you receive from your sale of your goods or services can get deposited right into your own account. And then come tax time, a very simple tax filing process using the Schedule C is attached right to your 1040, and you can pay your taxes in that fashion. No separate tax return necessary. There is absolutely no legal separation between the assets of the owner and the business. So unfortunately, the downside of a sole proprietorship is that you have no liability protection. So that's why it's something to keep in mind that if something were to occur, if you were to be sued, if there was a debt issue, your personal assets are potentially at risk. So in terms of actually business entities, moving beyond the sole proprietorship, the next level up in terms of structure we have is the limited liability company. The LLC is a very popular business entity that one might use to start a business. It's state by state regulated. The cost in New Jersey to form an LLC is $125, plus there's some processing fees. You can use a debit or a credit card. This process is done all online. There, you don't have to, it's not done at the county clerk level, it's done at the state level. And you would get a unique business name in the state, whereas at the county level, your name would have to be unique within the county. With an LLC, we are now at a state level business structure where your name would have to be unique within the state. There is a $75 per year maintenance dues that you pay as an LLC owner. It's once a year at the anniversary of your formation date, you can go ahead. It's called filing an annual report. It's really nothing other than logging into the portal and paying your dues. The LLC does require you to get a separate tax ID number that would be legally assigned to the LLC. You would apply on behalf of the legal name of the business and get your EIN number. This is all done online through the IRS website, and that is no cost, once again. The business bank account is required in this case. You would need a separate business banking account. That is to protect you personally and protect your assets. The separation also is what helps in terms of keeping that liability protected. So that's where the limited liability does come into play, that you are now separate personally from your business. And in terms of taxation, what's nice about the LLC, it's a very flexible business structure in that as the owner, you can choose how you wish to be taxed. If you are one person and you are known as a single member LLC, member means owner in LLC terminology, you file the Schedule C tax return. Now, as you can remember from the slide previous, sole proprietor uses a Schedule C. So what's nice is that even though you now have an LLC and you have the protection, if you're one person, you have that simple tax filing that is assigned to the sole proprietor, you yourself can use as a single member LLC. If you're more than one person, you are defaulted to file a Form 1065, which is a tax filing typically reserved for partnerships. Doesn't mean you're a partnership. It has a different legal connotation and meaning as a partnership, but as a multi-member, more than one owner LLC, you would default to this Form 1065. And then the other option for LLCs are you can, if it is appropriate, choose to be taxed as a corporation. So that is something that we will discuss a little bit more in more detail. But just know that as an LLC owner, you do have a choice in terms of how you wish to be taxed. Now, the corporation is the most protected of the business structures. It also has the most regulation. It's probably the most costly to operate in terms of its tax structure and tax filings and requirements. You are expected and required to establish bylaws, create a board of directors, hold those shareholder meetings. And even though it doesn't quite lend itself to what you would think of in terms of small business structure, there are times when a small business may decide that incorporating is in the best interest of the business owners due to the fact that it does have the strongest liability protection. So there might be certain industries, perhaps general contractor or home builder or trucking. Not to say that there aren't many companies in those industries that are LLCs. There are, but there are some times when the corporate business structure, for various reasons, in terms of who you might be doing business with, who might be contracting with you, it might lend itself to the best choice due to that liability protection. Okay, and the other thing, taxes, that corporation does have a separate tax return for the company. It is subject to a corporate tax rate. And then what we often are here is, well, you're penalized and that you have double taxation. Basically, what that means is that at the corporate level, when you have your income, you are subject to a corporate tax, income tax. And then whatever is left over are shareholder profits. So you would then pay as a shareholder taxes on the dividends. So it can be burdensome for a small business to file as a corporation, but we'll talk a little bit about how you can get around that in the next slide. But the sole proprietor, the limited liability company, and the corporation, all three options, once you have formed that business, you are then required to register the business, because remember, in New Jersey, it is a multi-step process. Formation is one step, and then you would take whatever company structure that you decided to move and go along with. You would then have to register that business with the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services. Okay, so next slide is a little bit about the S Corp. So as I mentioned with the corporation, in order to avoid the double taxation if you're a small business, if appropriate, and you qualify, you can apply for the subchapter S under the IRS code. That's otherwise known as the S Corporation tax designation. So what I want to clarify is that S Corps are not so much business entities as they are tax designations. So when you hear people refer to, oh, I'm an S Corp, I'm an S Corp, they might be, in terms of, how they've now been set up with respect to their tax designation. But at one point, they either incorporated and then became an S Corp for tax purposes, or they are an LLC that choose to be taxed as a corporation. And then furthermore, to choose to have the S Corp status. So what that does on the corporate level is that it avoids the double taxation. Income is now, instead of being taxed twice, it does pass to the shareholders for each of their respective income tax returns. And there are some stipulations on whether you would qualify. Typically, small businesses, it's not an issue. Fewer than 100 shareholders, and can only be preferred. Excuse me, common stock can't have any preferred stock. So there are some qualifications you have to meet in order to file for that subchapter S. But it is a very popular options for small businesses that do incorporate. Same for LLCs. LLCs really are a very flexible option. That's why someone may choose the LLC versus incorporating, and it's easier to manage. It's less expensive. But there sometimes are tax advantages for an LLC owner to be taxed as a corporation. In this case, then to apply for the S Corp tax designation, because it has to do with self-employment taxes. As LLC owners, you are owners of the business. You're not employees of your company, and you draw your profits and income from the profit line. And so you are subject to self-employment taxes. In certain thresholds, at a certain point, it's something that you would discuss with your accountant. It may be more tax advantageous for you to change that tax status to being taxed as an S Corp, because at that point, you then are now allowed to start a payroll, put yourself on payroll, and thereby it reduces your overall operating income, and then avoids the self-employment tax, and you're basically primarily taxed as an employee of your company. So that's as far as I'll get into that. I'm not an accountant. It's something you would want to discuss with your accountant, but we want to just make clear that you do have choices when you are an LLC and how you wish to be taxed. So now we're going to focus primarily on the LLC and terms of formation and the registration. We want you to know that even though the LLC is a simple, and I would say simple process of forming right online through the NJ portal, it can get confusing, and we understand that. And very oftentimes, you might decide to hire someone to do it for you, or pay money through a third party to set it all up. What we want to say is this: we are here to walk you through the process. Again, no cost on our part, and we will make sure you get it right and get it done. It's something that is designed for the business owner to be able to do themselves, because it's something that you want to understand. You want to understand the terminology. You want to understand what you're doing. You're creating a legal business structure. You're registering the business. There are tax consequences. And very often when you pass that off to somebody else, they don't explain all the nuances of what's happening and what your responsibilities are. And I think it puts you at a disadvantage. So the nice thing is you can do it yourself with our assistance, so you don't have to be nervous that you're making any mistakes. And we'll make sure you understand each step. It only takes about an hour. You can make an appointment with our office. We'll sit through it with you, and we'll make sure that you're comfortable. And we can talk you through it right over the phone. We'll get your legal certificate of formation. We'll go to the IRS. We'll get your tax ID. And then we will register you with the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services, so that you are then good to go, legally able to transact, and open up your business bank account. So sometimes if you have already gone with somebody else, like a LegalZoom or a third party, to create your business structure, entity, what they don't do for you is register the business. They may create your certificate of formation, give you some other documents, some that you don't even need that you might be paying for, get your tax ID. But the actual act of registering is often, in my experience, working with clients over the number of years, is left to the business owner. Unfortunately, though, the business owner doesn't realize that this is a step that still has to be taken. So if you feel that that is you and that you might have missed a step or that you paid somebody to do it and you're not sure, make an appointment. We'll look it up. We'll make sure that you are properly registered. And that is done right through the web, the link right there. You'll get a copy of the slides. You'll have access to all these links. The new federal requirement that came about as of January 1st is now to file with the Financial Crimes Network. It is called a Beneficial Ownership Information Report, otherwise known as BOIR. And it's just an extra step that now LLCs are required to take in order to properly register their business. So beyond the state requirements, there is now this new federal requirement. It is basically logging into the site and showing proof of who you are, driver's license, the name of your company, your information. It's a way, again, unfortunately, I think due to a number of issues, perhaps that there have been with LLCs and fraud and tax evasion. This is a new database that allows the federal government to keep track of the LLCs that are formed in each state and who the owners are. So in terms of starting your LLC, you'll need to have a unique business name. You'll get your tax ID number. You'll need to know your industry codes. Again, we will walk through that with you and help you figure out what best applies to what it is you're doing. The New Jersey Industry Code is pretty self-explanatory. The NAICS code, often known as the NICS code, is very often we get the question is, well, there might be more than one that apply to me. And that is true. And that's perfectly fine. There could be multiple codes that apply to the business services or that you're providing or goods that you're selling. For the purposes of the registration, we just need to pick one. We find the one that most properly identifies what it is that you're doing. You'll need a registered agent, or you may be your own registered agent. The registered agent is basically the person and or place that is responsible for being the point contact for the state. So if we have an issue of mail, important documents, if someone had to come knock on the door from the state and hand something over to you, there has to be a physical location. In other words, it can't be a PO box. So you are allowed to be your own registered agent, or you can hire a registered agent to provide that service for you, and they would then be the point person. We can talk about that if you have questions on how that works. If you're more than one person, you'll need an operating agreement. That is required. You'll have to be able to spell out what the investments might be into the business, what the profit sharing might be, what your roles are going to be in the company. And important, most importantly, maybe in this respect, is if the company were to dissolve tomorrow, how would you break out and dissolve the business and distribute the assets? So this should be in place. It doesn't necessarily have to be done by a lawyer, but it does have to be done. And, you know, depending on who you're making an operating agreement with, it might make them sense to have a lawyer assist with the process, just to keep it clean and something that every party is comfortable with. The cost is $125 plus the processing fee, and you can use a debit or credit card right online. And when it comes time to the registration piece of the process, you'll make sure that you have all the names and addresses and social security numbers of the owners / members, as well as what each of their respective percentage share of the business will be. We'll need to know how you're going to be taxed. Once again, here are our 3 choices. If you're a single member, you can choose your Schedule C tax filing, very simple tax filing. If you're more than one, you'll default to that partnership 1065 filing. Or you may choose to be filed at tax as a corporation. Now, very important is understanding some additional regulations and tax consequences of starting a business. If your goods or services are subject to sales tax, it's something you'll need to know, and whether or not you'll be eligible to make exempt purchases. What that means is that if you're selling items that are subject to sales tax, you as the retailer would be allowed to purchase those items exempt from New Jersey state sales tax because you are not the end user. You would then be responsible for collecting the sales tax at the point of sale, holding it, and remitting it to the state at the end of each quarter. And if there's questions about whether or not your goods or services are subject to state sales tax, there's booklets and explanations from the Division of Taxation that go through all of that with you. And we can look at that together. Additional registrations and certifications and licenses may be required for your business. If you're, for example, home health aid, there's a license for that. General contractors and handyman services are subject to the general contractor registration. There are food service requirements for food handling and safety. So we have all the access to the licensing guides, and we can share with you the websites through our Business Action Center online sites that talk about what additional requirements might be necessary for your business. And you'll want to identify a bank that you'll open your business bank account. Most importantly is you want to avoid paying any kind of monthly fees. Sometimes there might be a certain amount that you have to have within the bank, or perhaps a certain number of transactions on your debit card that you have to have a month. But if you can talk to where you personally do your banking, see what options they might provide you, do a little research, but definitely try to find something that is business friendly. The last thing a small business needs to do is pay monthly fees on their business bank account. Here are some links that you'll have access to, important information, again, regarding the licenses and registrations. Sales tax booklet that goes through all the goods and services that you can think of and whether or not they're subject to sales tax or not. There are income tax requirements as self-employed individuals. That's something that you can read into once you're up and running, whether or not it might be necessary for you to pay estimated income taxes. The federal and state governments don't wish to wait until April 15th to get their taxes. Whereas if you were employed, you would have withholdings every paycheck. As a self-employed individual, you do want to keep in mind that either on a monthly or most likely quarterly basis, it would be required for you to pay into your tax burden. Questions probably most best answered by your accountant, but there is some information online about how to go about and doing that. If you are hiring employees or versus independent contractors, there's some information about payroll, as well as the 1099 independent contractor setup. We can answer questions about that as well. And insurance, workers' compensation, those are subjects that come up. We are happy to talk about that and guide you and provide whatever resources we can. And in startups, we always have conversations about your cash needs. what you're going to need to start up the business, what that startup cost analysis is. Once you're up and running, what we do need to keep your operations going smoothly. What are your personal budget considerations? How much money are you going to invest in the business versus perhaps having to seek outside sources of capital? We'll assist you with all lending aspects, whether it be business plan, putting your projections together. Usually you're for an SBA loan, the lender wants to see at least a 12-month projection of your income, sales and expenses and income, like a profit and loss. We'll make sure that you're understanding of your financial statements, try to go over as best as possible what, is necessary for you as the business owner to understand so that you're profitable. At the end of the day, you want to eventually take in more than you spend, and that is understanding the profitability equation for your business. And bookkeeping. If you have questions about how to best manage your books, we have offered QuickBooks classes in the past. There are great tutorials. We have old webinars that discuss these items. It's something important to keep in mind. And we'll always be honest and let you know when we think it's best for you to speak to your accountant, your lawyer, the insurance agent. You want to do as much research as you can, speak to an insurance agent, compare quotes, understand, that whether or not you're being properly covered. We can be a liaison for you to the lender when it comes time to speaking with the lender about possible financing. And, when you may need to go and seek professional assistance when it comes to marketing and social media, but just know that we here have consultants who are more focused in that area. So perhaps you can meet up with one of them and get some guidance and mentorship before you go out and spend money. And we also assist with all the state certifications. If you want to become a woman-owned business or minority-owned business, there's veteran, disabled veteran, LGBTQ. We will assist you through the process of the state certification. Typically, that's done if you're interested in procurement or government contracting. We can also talk to you about that. We've had webinars on that. We have people here who can help you through that process and guide you if that's something you're interested in. And other services and resources in the state through the SBA and NJEDA, and of course through our own website that has just a whole slew of webinars and recorded history of educational programming to help you with different business needs. Okay, so I think with that, we're good for questions. The first, I'll just explain a little bit about this slide. The first QR code is if you are not in business right now at all and you want assistance with your formation and registration, I would work with the top link and QR code because it'll streamline you a little bit quicker to a new business specialist. But if you're already in business and you have questions on any of the above or anything that was already discussed, you can go ahead and do the bottom QR code or use this link when you get the slides in order to get assigned to your closest regional center, to be assigned to a counselor to get assistance. Okay, so with that, we will turn it over to some questions.
Okay, so I think this is the first time in the 6-7 months that we've been doing this, Vanessa, is that we don't have like 10 plus questions. So
okay.
that makes me assume that I'm one possibility. You just did such a great job of, explaining everything that our audience doesn't have a question. We do have a couple.
Actually,
they're
some
coming
are in
in.
I think some questions are in the chat.
They're just coming in, so I think we'll give them time. So Monica just sent one, and okay, Mayor is this Marley? Okay, so please share your questions in the Q&A box, please, and thank you. Um, all right, so while our attendees or audience comes up with questions, and they can do this, let me just share some reminders actually. So first reminder is that this webinar from the beginning has been recorded, and it will be recorded until the end, of course. And you can find this recording on our YouTube channel or our homepage, our website. So YouTube channel, you can just go NJSBDC webinars. You can just type that and our channel will come up. Feel free to subscribe. Every week we upload these webinars. They will also be available on our NJSBC website, which I will show on screen. And then the next thing is if you'd like to receive the slides that Vanessa just presented, just to go back and take notes and anything like that, go back, visit the links that Vanessa shared. This will be available if you complete if you complete our survey. So in our survey, just let us know any other webinar topics that you'd like to know more about, any feedback for Vanessa, any feedback for our staff and our recommendations, criticism, anything like that. So I will share those links again in the chat, but again, instead of the chat, please put your questions in the Q&A box so we get to them quickly. All right, and I also shared links for the headlines that I mentioned earlier and also shared the links for all our socials. Just scroll back up on the chat and you'll find them. Let me just quickly share, before we go into the Q&A, let me just quickly share the survey link and the recording link again. All right, so it is in the chat right now. You click those links and you'll it should open up a page for you. All right, so questions in the Q&A box. Thank you very much. First question will go in the order that we received them. First question is from Monica. If I have an LLC and have not done business in over a year, is my business penalized?
No, you're not penalized if you're not transacting business, but you can be penalized if you're not keeping up to date with your annual dues. So you want to make sure that you are still in compliance by filing your annual report. That is, again, comes maybe about 3 or 4 months before your formation anniversary. You log on, you pay your $75 and you get a receipt. If that does not sound familiar to you and you have no idea what I'm talking about, make an appointment. We'll check for you, we'll help you. But just the act of not transacting business is not a cause for being penalized.
Got it, thank you. And then right under, okay, I think this might be different, but Kenny asked, are there any specialists that can help navigate obtaining licenses like health insurance license?
To get health insurance or
Health insurance license, so I'm not
a
exactly
health insurance?
sure.
If you're yes, I think there might be, if you're like just like a small business owner and you have questions about providing health insurance or doing self-employed health insurance, we may have some consultants who can who might have some knowledge in that. We'd have to check with our database of counselors if that is anyone's specialty. That's what you're referring to.
Got it, thank you. Next question is from, okay, Maria, I can help answer this. Would it be possible to have a webinar with some success stories and best practices from business owners? or are there some startup nights kind of like open stage? That would be great. So two things I'll tell you, Maria. One thing I'll tell you, please, please, please share that in the survey. So go to our survey and ask for that, because what we try to do is, of course, we try to plan our events based on things that are happening throughout the year. So for tax season, the first quarter of the year, we try to have like, tax webinars on topics on taxes and things like that. And then in summer, holidays, things like that. But other times we try to plan our webinars based on feedback from attendees just like you. So if you're asking for something like this, like, no, you want a webinar on some success stories, put that in the survey and we'll definitely look at that and we'll plan our curriculum based on that. Second thing, if you go to njsbdc.com and if you go to, I'll show this, by the way. I try to do this at the end of every webinar. Go to njsbdc.com and then go to events. There's a subheading. It says events or something like that. And you go to all statewide events and our webinars. We have done webinars in the past. I remember we did one in March or February where we highlighted success stories. And we also have testimonials and success stories. I believe throughout the state and our webinars. I think you might just have to go look for them. Yeah, also our 10 regional centers that I mentioned earlier, they're always doing some sorts of celebrations or awards or meet the lenders or meet the consultants or meet the team or something like that. And they do these types of showcases. So yeah, just go to our website and look for it. There was a question where I think Kenny had asked, are there Excel classes or things that you can attend? I will say that, again, please go look for our webinars or statewide events that are happening or have happened. And we definitely have done, QuickBooks classes, Excel classes, all the basic levels, introductory classes. Next question is from Vanessa Liberati, who asks, what if I have an expired sole? I'm assuming she means sole proprietorship. So what if I have an expired sole and want to do instead an LLC?
Sure. If you are started as a sole proprietor and you decide that you'd like to now move on to the LLC, it would be starting a fresh business. And I don't mean a fresh business meaning that, obviously you were in business, that counted. But in terms of legality, the LLC is a brand new business structure, and you would have to get a new tax ID number from the IRS, one that's specifically assigned to the legal business name of the LLC. But you can certainly do that. It's just, there's no process. It's just forming the LLC. And if you want to carry the same name, then as long as it's still available at the state level, you can use that name.
Got it. Thank you. Next question is from Samaya, who asks, my question is, do you need proof of personal income or work history to acquire business account and credit card?
The business account, no, because as soon as you open up that LLC, you are required to open a business bank account. So you may not have earned a single dollar yet. So that's just a matter of going to the bank, showing them your certificate of formation, showing them your tax ID letter from the IRS. And I'm guessing, depending on the bank, it does depend on the bank, some sort of initial deposit to put some money into the account. But that is just something that is a process that must take place in order to legally have and transact through an LLC. Now, with respect to a business credit card, that will largely depend on probably, yes, I think, again, depends on the bank or the entity who's issuing the card, but business credit, developing some business credit first may be necessary before getting a business bank card. Or very heavily relying and looking at your own personal credit as a determinant of approval. So it depends, but there's definitely more that it would be necessary to see. And I do believe you need to kind of be up and running before you could apply for that business account. But if I'm wrong, if I'm mistaken, my understanding is that your personal credit, your personal review and analysis, just as if you were getting a personal credit card, would come into play in approval on a business side because you don't have a business history.
Got it. Thank you. A question from Maria Moreno is, why is it that alcohol permits are so expensive? I see lots of restaurants that are still BYOB. How does that work?
Can you just repeat the first part of that question?
Yeah, why is it that alcohol permits are so expensive?
Well, I think they're highly coveted, highly in demand. If you're talking about, yeah, if you're talking about getting that liquor license, depending on what kind, it is a supply and demand issue in many ways. The townships, I believe, or the municipalities decide or vote on the limited amounts and number of permits or licenses that they're going to give. And so once they're in place, they're very hard to come by. And on a secondhand market, can be extremely expensive. So I just think it has to do with where you are in the state, where your town is. Some towns are stricter than others. Some states are stricter than others. I don't think it's as much of and I can't speak for other states, but I know at least even in my own township, it's very hard to get a liquor license. And when they do become available and sold in the secondhand market, it's very expensive.
Next question is from, Monica. Monica says, if I want to expand my business scope or change the scope, do I need to recertify my business? I want to keep the same name, but change the scope.
No, you don't have to do anything. You can just go ahead and do, you can shift gears, under your LLC umbrella, you can do multiple business lines of business or revenue sources of revenue, as long as you're properly insured. And as long as you're in legal compliance with any additional licenses or registrations, you don't have to update necessarily where, what it is that you're doing.
Gotcha. We do have another question from Maria. Maria, I think it would be good. I don't want to say that we cannot help answer your question at this moment. We can, but because it just seems to me that we might need a one-on-one with you. So if you can go to njsbdc.com/startup, the first link that's there, you should register into our system. And I use that very carefully. I don't mean register with the state of New Jersey. I mean register into our system, the NJSBDC database, with the link there, and request an appointment with Vanessa and one of her team members. And we'll do our best, because I do see that there are a couple of questions under that one question. And I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I will answer that question by saying, please register. And we'll do, okay, so Maria says I scanned the first code and I'm adding my details right now. Perfect, thank you. So yeah, Vanessa, you'll have Maria to talk to in the next couple of days.
Great.
Awesome. So Monica, okay, we addressed that question. Next question is from Rachel, who asks, I need to update my business industry and name. Should I do an amendment or start a new LLC?
No, you definitely don't have to start a new LLC. If you want to well, first of all, to make a name change, it's an amendment. You can amend your original certificate of formation. That is done through the NJ portal. You log in and as long as you know which article that you're changing, you look on your certificate of formation and say like the business name is Article 1. You say I'm changing the Article 1. You just follow the prompts. We can help you if you want to walk through it with us on the phone. We do that all the time if you're nervous to do it on your own. But you will be prompted to pay $100. It is $100 fee to change the name of your LLC. And then in terms of the industry, the only place where they really ask you where it's obligatory in a registration process through the formation registration process of your is with the codes is on the registration piece. And that's a little tricky. You can always re-register and say it saves over the old one. Business purpose, if there's like in the formation, there is a place, and I know I'm getting into the weeds, where you could type what it is that you're doing. That's something that also can be amended on the certificate of formation. So to answer your question, an amendment. Never need to form a new LLC for just making a change like that. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, we can help you. We'll walk you through it.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Next question is from Nadia. Can you hire an employee doing business as a sole proprietor?
Yes, but you must have an EIN. Employer identification number.
Got it. Next question is from Anonymous, who says, would you happen to know what is the age requirement for a tobacco license?
I don't think so. Tobacco license? I'm gonna guess 21, since you can't buy cigarettes unless you're 21. So I guess you
Yeah.
really shouldn't have a license unless you're 21. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I feel like that would be, I mean, this is just a guess, but I feel like that would be something that would be available on the NJ portal, like the
Well,
website.
exactly. So like say you were to make an appointment with me and you had that question, I could find that answer.
Yeah.
Like I know that's the nice thing. Your counselor should be able to point you in the right direction and be able to find which jurisdiction, which agency is responsible for tobacco, and we'd find the answer for you. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Or and no intention to, cause any offense or anything, but the other thing is like, you go to Google and you say age requirement for tobacco license, New Jersey, and that might tell you. All right, I'm
It
going to take a
could.
quick, yeah, yep. I am going to take a quick look at the chat because I know that when we began our Q&A session, I did see a couple questions coming in. So let me just take a quick look.
And while you're doing that, I just want to add that when you do searches, which is, I think, a great way to get info, right? It's what we do now. Always, when it comes to this kind of thing, when the answers pop up, try to find the .govs, the .irs, .govs, the source sites, the agencies, because that's where you would hope the most updated and recent information and correct information is.
Exactly. Yep. Um, okay, so we did have Marley who had asked, how do I change my business name? I feel like we sort of addressed that, but
Mhm.
um, next question. Al says, great job. Caesar says, do you assist in helping registering as a foreign entity?
Yes. Yes, so if you are in a different state and your LLC was someplace else and you want to do business in New Jersey, we can help you get registered as a foreign in New Jersey.
Yep. Next question is from Jacqueline, who says, I just formed my business and I have a question about the NICS code. What if there is a government contract that you would like to pitch to, but your NICS code that you selected does not cover? It is one of the qualification that you do have though.
Right. So you you can have any number of NICS codes um, uh, um, for your business. I mean, no business necessarily has one, you know, one thing that describes them. When you go, and this helps, if you were to go and apply for your New Jersey Small Business Enterprise certification, and if you're interested in that, you're looking to do contracting, in that application to get this certification, you are allowed to list up to 6 NICS codes. So there obviously there's more than just one. And I would recommend that if you're interested in contracting, that's what you do. You get that small business enterprise certification so that you can um, identify additional codes that explain what it is that you're doing. And even in addition to that, there's there's another section where you even get to put in maybe another 10, 12 um, uh, qualifiers in addition to the NICS codes. So that's what I would recommend. If you're doing contracting, you get your small business enterprise certification, and there you can expand your codes.
So Jacqueline replied to that, Vanessa, and they say, I didn't know this. I already certified. Can I go back and update the NICS codes to expand?
Oh, you already certified as an SBE, and you want to, yeah, I think so. Yeah, you could probably amend that. You have to when you are receive that certification, you're required to update every quarter, excuse me, every year, um, any changes made. I believe it's just a matter of logging into the portal and updating. I'd have to look at that, make an appointment, because we have people who are really good at the certification process. So we'll figure it out. But yes, I imagine you can update that. You were allowed to put up to 6 NICS codes in that application.
Yep. So Jacqueline replied, said LLC, I didn't see an option to add multiple NICS codes. But yeah, make an appointment, Jacqueline. That would be the best way to talk further in Atlan. And yeah, that's honestly the best way. All right, so that concludes our Q&A session. I'm just responding to a couple things in the chat. And I will share my screen in a moment. All right, done. And let me share my screen to our webpage. Here we go. This is njsbdc.com. This is our homepage. This is our website. I always say that I'm very biased, but I think this is a great resource because it really has almost everything that you may need to at least get some sort of idea on what should be your next step. So if you're saying that, hey, I'd like to speak to someone, then you can request counseling. If you just need information, extra information, then you can go to some web pages that we have in like posts, blog posts, resources, podcasts, things that we have where you can go if you'd like to attend webinars and events that we have events. One of the pages that I think gets overlooked often is this page, Small Business Resource Hub. We have a lot of federal, state, and local pages that we have on here that you as a small business owner should know of. So if we talk about the NJ portal for business, we have that here. You should be very familiar because every year you have to do like an annual report or like you have to pay your fee or something like that. Because we have 10 regional centers that cover multiple counties, then you can have we try to have local and municipal information, but that again is very niche to that specific region, so that might not be there. But there you go. You know how to start your own business, federal business resources like sam.gov, SCORE, SBA, IRS, USDOL, then templates, business plan templates, marketing plan templates, financial, that is from SBA.gov, New Jersey business resources, again, business.nj.gov. Then we have NJBAC, NJEBA, NJBIA, all these things that we have, for all the counties. So I highly recommend that if you have 5 to 10 minutes of your day and, you're on your lunch break or something and you want to go on your phone, just scroll and find out more information, then please just go to our website. Now, what I just went to is events and NJSBDC small business webinars. This is our library. This is where we store all of our webinars that we've been doing for the past 2-3 years. And when this pop-up happens, I highly recommend that you put in your email for newsletters if you have already not done so. And I just saw in the chat, Can you said the Excel courses. So one of the pages that you can go to is this, webinars. I don't think we've done an introductory course on Excel, but I will say that I'm sure our regional centers have. So in this, if you just keep going on load more, there will like hundreds that will pop up. So whether it's procurement, I know we had a question on that, SBIR, CTR, if you're in the tech space and you'd like, if you want to go that route, we have marketing strategies. We have all the sessions that Vanessa has done from session 1. What else? We have financing, capital, cybersecurity, market trends during the holiday, during Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History Month, Women's History Month. So that's one of the pages. The other page is this, and this is where you can sort of filter out things. So for example, Kenny had asked how, the Excel courses. So maybe look around here, business accounting and budget, business basics, startup assistance. We do also counsel in Spanish and offer webinars and events in Spanish. So if you'd like, just look through this page and you'll find something. Some of our events and webinars, or not webinars, but events are in person. So it'll tell you the location. Some do have a fee. They're not always free. So it will also tell you that. And if it's in Spanish, then it'll also tell you, it'll have the title in Spanish, just like this one. Of course, the date and all the information, and the entire calendar is up here. So again, just take some time to sort through this and you'll mostly find what you're looking for. And we also have client success stories. I know we had a question on that. So we have our impacts, we have our success stories, very niche to our regional centers. So that is all from what I would like to share. Let me just share what is upcoming. Upcoming webinars this Thursday, April 25th, how to register on sam.gov to access up to $2 million in SBIR and STTR grants. If you are an aspiring entrepreneur and if you're in the space of general business or if you're not in the tech space, then this won't be as relevant. But I know sam.gov is one of some people's biggest bane of existence. So this is something that we have been trying to do for a long time. So if you can refer someone to this webinar and this might help them, feel free to send them a link or two and tell them to come take a look. And of course, same time as always, 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, learn about sam.gov registration process to be able to apply for non-dilutive federal funding in this webinar. So this is related to our tech team and NJSBDC tech team. That is all. We're here to support you. We've helped 15,000 plus small businesses start, grow, and thrive in the 46 years of existence that we have been in existence. If you'd like to talk with Vanessa and her team, please go to njsbdc.com/startup. Otherwise, if you'd like general counseling, then njsbdc.com and request counseling. We truly appreciate your support. Thank you so much for attending, and thank you for your kind feedback. Vanessa, thank you so much. We'll see you next Tuesday for this webinar session. If not, then see you on Thursday. Bye. Take care.
Bye.